Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended Podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge. And I'm super excited because we've got a great show lined up for you. We've got Marina here to come and talk to us about the Women in Supply Chain Forum that's happening in November. But we've got a lot to get to before we do that. First, we need to give a shout out to the Secret Society of Supply Chain. That is our membership group. If you haven't checked it out, head over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com. We've got lots going on there, lots of supply chain conversations. And I want to give a shout out to some of our newest members. We've got Leah Kim, we've got Carolina De La Paz, we've got Jerome McQueen, we've also got Jessica Mahoney and Vidula as well. We are super excited to have you as a part of the Secret Society of Supply Chain. Now, let's get into what is new at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So we've got a brand new Woman in Supply Chain episode. It's episode 493, wherever you listen or watch the show, either on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and it's with Natalie Walker. Now she's coming on. She talks about her journey and what her career has looked like. She's got a lot of great insights to share, so highly recommend you go and check that one out. Plus, we've got a lot of live shows coming up. So Eric Johnson is going live on Friday, and that's happening at 10 a.m. Eastern. He's going to be talking about tariffs, codes, and crackdowns, the new reality for importers. And actually today on Thoughts and Coffee, we're going to be talking a little bit about that as well, because I read a quote the other day and it said, design your supply chain for disruption. And this has definitely been one that has disrupted the whole industry. So click the attend button. Even if you can't attend live, we'll make sure to send you that link. Next, on October 16th at 1 p.m. Eastern, Mary Casillo, she's the Senior Vice President of Business Development at Pallet Alliance. She's here to talk about how you can rethink supplier partnerships, collaboration over competition. You know, I love a good collaboration. I always say collaboration is the future of business. And actually, Mary's been on the show before, and she's really talked a lot about how your pallet strategy can change your competitive advantage in your supply chain. And so if you haven't really thought about your pallet strategy, you really need to click the attend button for this one. Make sure you show up. If you can't show up live, we will send you the recording, even if you click the attend button. So make sure you go over and do that. On October 29th, we are doing a special event, Stand Out to Get Hired. Now, we know how tough it is in the job market right now. And actually, we're going to be talking about that a little bit later on with Marina. Katie Date is running this one. She wants to make sure that we are all set up for success. So go and check that out. Register today. It's going to be a really, really great session that you are not going to want to miss. And then Thursday, November 6th. Now, I'm actually going to be in Paris that day, and I'm going to be conducting all sorts of interviews at VizNow on site. And then we're going to be taking those nuggets and we're going to be sharing that with you live on our LinkedIn. So click the attend button. We are going to be talking to some very, very well-known shippers about what's going on in the industry, how they're thinking about it, what they're doing about it, how their supply chain, they're using their supply chain for a competitive advantage. So click the attend button for that. And last but not least, October 21st, 11 a.m. Eastern, I am hosting a webinar with Supply Chain Brain. And these are great ones. So this is a webinar. You have to go and register at the link in the comments, but I hope to see you there because we're going to be talking about how Hexcel uses integrated intelligence to stay resilient. Now, Adrian's going to join me, Daniel's going to join me, and it's always a good time over there. So go and check that out. And next, in person, so we're going to be talking about the Women in Supply Chain Forum today with Marina. If you don't have your tickets, make sure to go and register. It's November 18th through 20th. I can't wait to see you there. Plus, we're going to be talking more about what you can expect. Then we've got Manifest February 9th through 11th. I think they just went through their second round of early bird. If you haven't picked up your ticket, go and pick up your ticket today. And last but not least, I have a new monthly pop. This is my LinkedIn newsletter. It's talking about how you belong here, but we also talk about the giving the gift of experience. Last month, I was able to bring my team and a few other women along with me to the Summit of Greatness. And It was just a really awesome experience. And I share that in this particular article. So we've put the link in the comments. If you're over on my personal LinkedIn, we will put the link in there in just a little bit. All right. Now it's time to bring up Marina. Hello. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you on. I mean, we usually do this before the Woman in Supply Chain Forum just to talk a little bit about what's happening and what people can expect. So, for those that don't know you, why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do and all the things?
Absolutely. So I'm Marina Mayer. I am the editor-in-chief of Food Logistics and Supply and Demand Chain Executive. But we also are the owners and operators of the Women in Supply Chain Forum, as well as all of our awards programs, which some of you may know and have been a part of, including you, Sarah, which is our Pros to Know Award, our Rock Stars of Supply Chain Award, and our coveted Women in Supply Chain Award. So very excited to be here today so we can talk more about women in supply chain and just supply chain in general.
In general, right? And if you are watching, I want to see in the comments. So put in the comments where you're tuning in from because I'd love to see that. I need to give a couple of shout outs over on my personal LinkedIn. Amrit from Ontario. We've got Michelle from West Michigan. And we've got Leah from Seattle. I mean, it's a little early for you. So thank you so much for jumping in and tuning in. And we even have our first fire emoji. So Marina, we started this thing where I just want to hear from everybody if they're liking the conversation to put a fire emoji in the comments. And so always love to see a good fire emoji. I love
fire emoji. Love it.
All right, let's get to the poll of the week. So we ask everybody a question every single Wednesday morning, just to either touch on the temperature in supply chain, or sometimes we do a fun question that's a little bit outside of supply chain, and people are like, "Why are you doing one that's not about supply chain?" And we're like, "Well, we want to have a little bit of fun sometimes and not be so serious." So, this particular question: how do you keep things moving when challenges hit? Now, I love this one because disruption really is kind of a staple in what we're doing right now and kind of what everybody is talking about. So 54% of you said adapt and reprioritize fast. 21% of you said lean on strong partners. 14% said improve data visibility. And 11% said diversify suppliers. Marina, what do you think about this? What do you think about the answers? Does anything surprise you?
I don't know that it surprises me. I'm pleased that they have decided to adapt and reprioritize, because I think if you had asked that question 5-10 years ago,
Mhm.
the answer would be completely different. And so I think that this is indicative of the industry really learning from their mistakes, learning how to fast track, learning how to pivot. And whether they're using technology or not, this is showing that these supply chains are really digging in and saying, okay, we just need to find a solution. We just need to
Yeah.
move forward. You know, the supply chain never sleeps, it never stops. So this is just proof of that. And I actually really enjoy that that's the winning response.
Yeah. And I hear you. I actually just wrote an answer to a question about C-suite risk.
Hmm.
And I answered it around the humans of the supply chains, because really that's what powers and moves supply chains forward. We talk a lot about technology, we talk a lot about AI, but we really need to focus on the people who are running the supply chains and adapt and reprioritize fast at 54% is a huge deal, but we have to also be cognizant of the other side of that, which could be burnout, just because there's so many disruptions and there's so many things changing and having to adapt on our feet all the time. You
Yeah.
need rest to be able to think strategically and make sure that you're bringing in innovative ideas and things like that. So I think it's great, but I think we also need to be a little bit careful with how and the pressure that we're putting on the people behind our supply chains.
I definitely agree with that. Burnout is a real thing.
Mhm.
And these people, these folks, they're doing tremendous things behind the scenes. That's why we do these awards programs, because there are so many people who don't necessarily get the credit internally with their company.
Yes.
So it's our job as the voices to kind of help make sure that they're celebrated for those achievements.
Yeah. So let's get one of my favorite parts of the show is talking about a market update. We kind of get the pulse of the industry through the poll, and then we get the pulse of the industry through our guests. Now, you travel just as much as I do. We go to a lot of conferences. We're talking to a lot of people, and obviously you publish, right? You're talking to a lot of people about what is happening in industry, whether it's manufacturing, food logistics, et cetera, et cetera. What's the pulse? What are people talking about? What are they worried about?
So I hate to say AI because I feel like everybody says AI, and I don't know about you, but I'm kind of sick of AI. Like that, if you're not investing in any kind of technology, it doesn't have to be AI, but if you are not investing in any kind of technology, you are already well years behind your competitors and your partners. But AI is definitely leading the charge. Anything that is emerging technology that is designed to kind of help people do their jobs better. And I know when robotics came around, everybody kind of threw this conniption fit. Oh my God, they're replacing our job. I'm not going to have a job. And really, I appreciate the companies that have stepped forward and made it known, hey, we are not trying to replace your job. We're trying to help you do your job better. So please partner with this robot in your warehouse so that you guys can partner together and do your job better. And so I think the workforce development learnings behind that is important and definitely on the pulse. And I think anything safety and security, in a world where we don't really know what's behind the corner on the other side of the door, anything cybersecurity, cargo fraud protection, anything that helps your workers feel safer, whether that's mentally, physically, those are important aspects of the supply chain right now. Yes, moving goods from point A to point B efficiently and sustainably are definitely it, but I think it's about protecting the people, your plant, and your product at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think part of that is connection, right? We
Yes.
need in-person connection.
Mhm.
And so I understand sort of the hybrid where you're back in the office, but also have the flexibility to work from home. But also networking, going to conferences,
Yes.
making sure that they're able to continually learn. Because it's a lot more difficult to find the right information that you need sometimes online. And you want to make sure that you're talking to peers about what is happening, what are the challenges in their world, but then also hear from people on stage as well, which I think is super important. I want to give a couple more shout outs. We've got Audria, who has joined us, Daniel from Overcast London. Marina, you said it's overcast where you are. Well, it's overcast in London too. We've also got Michelle from Vermont, Lauren from Dallas. We've got Sherry from Chicago, Sheila from Pittsburgh. We're having a party over on my
Yay,
personal
Chicago!
LinkedIn.
Yay, Sherry! Fire emoji for Sherry.
Mary is actually tuning in. She's one of your award winners, one of the ones that are going to be on our panel, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Mary says, do you think people's fear of change plays a big role in the fear of AI?
Yes. I agree with that because there are a lot of companies who come to us, they contribute pieces of content for us on foodlogistics.com and stcexec.com. And one of the things they talk about is, I know as a CEO, as a leader, as a decision maker in my company that I need to move forward with technology. However, I don't know where to start because I myself don't understand it. And as a leader, you kind of have to dig your heels in and kind of get in there and understand it before you can learn how to even execute it, train your people on it. So I definitely think there is a fear. I think there's a fear regardless of what's going on because anything new is scary.
Yeah. And I think that's
So
50% of the battle. I think the other
yeah,
50%, and the word I want to use there is overwhelm.
that's a great word. Yeah,
Right? Because I think it's
yeah,
a little bit of
that's true.
fear, but it's a lot of overwhelm. I think we're
Yeah,
overwhelmed in the fact that we don't really know what's around the corner. Things are a bit on fire at the moment. Just things that are happening, and then having to understand this new technology and not only what it does for us, what it can do for the company, and how it can empower the people, but then also how do you figure out that change management? Now, I want to change gears for just a moment because everybody knows I have a new book coming out on October 21st. and I'm trying to get this in here. My publisher just sent this to me because this is the front cover of the book. And you might be like, I buried her in a French press. What does that have to do with supply chain? It has absolutely nothing to do with supply chain. This book is about self-worth. It's about my relationship with self-worth based on my life experiences. So it's launching October 21st, and I'm super excited. And I hope you all stay tuned because I'm actually going to go live a few times that week on LinkedIn and Instagram and all the things. And I'm super excited about that. So anyways, Mary, great question. Let's get to our first article. Now, you talked a little bit about workforce development, Marina. And it goes hand in hand with this first article. Now, if anybody's out there in the job market right now, I have heard so much frustration from a lot of people. And I think there's a lot of this going around. And I didn't actually know that it had a name, but it has a name, and it's called ghost jobs. And actually, they're saying 17% of all job posts are ghost jobs. And that's when companies are posting job postings, but they never actually have the intention to fill it, which can be really frustrating because when I was looking for a job, I don't know, like 7 years ago, the amount of forms I had to fill out, even though I had a resume, and then you're like copying and pasting, I fill out this, it takes a long time to apply for a job. And so the fact that there are these ghost job postings was just like crazy to me. Anyways, what did you think about this?
So I too didn't know that it had a name. I just thought it was, oh, at some point in time, AI is kind of filtering out your resume, and I'm,
That's
sorry
what
to
I
hear
thought.
that. And we have a lot of shared connections in the industry who have been looking for jobs and, equally frustrated. And this is so surreal to me. And I was doing some research on it now that I know the name of it. And a lot of these companies that are doing it are trying to vouch for it, saying we're trying to backfill. We're trying to create this pipeline in the event we need to hire somebody. And I'm always about creating the pipeline and trying to create opportunities for people. And let's say you have somebody on your team who isn't really working out and you want to replace them, so you get this job posted like to pretend, but at the same time it's like you're really creating this fictitious workforce development challenge for people who really are looking for a job. And I know we talk about networking, and you mentioned connection, and it is really about who you know. The people that I know that have gotten jobs recently within the last 6 months, it's because they knew the hiring manager, or you or myself or somebody else in the industry introduced them to the hiring manager. So it really is about who you know, because when you sitting there and you're like, I applied to 80 jobs. I don't even know what that means. That sounds like, talk about overwhelming.
Well, it sounds like a full-time job, but also I want to go back to what you said about networking, because I think if this is happening, this is 17% of the job posts that are out there. I think it's even more important for you to lean on that network and for you to build that network. LinkedIn is a great place to do it. Some people are like, LinkedIn. I'm like, yeah, but LinkedIn is the place where people can show up, and they are going to show up, right? Their names out there, their employers out there, and the conversations hit different. I feel like it's a bit more of a safe space, but also it's a way, and people are open. People want to connect with other people as long as you're just not asking them for something like, right away. You have to establish a relationship. You've got to create value for them as well. And I think in these kind of situations, networking at conferences, learning more at conferences, networking with people, being part of memberships, talking to people on a regular basis, creating those connections and those bonds are really going to be important to that job search.
Right. Well, and I see in the comment that there's, talks about getting them banned. And I know that there are a couple initiatives out there that are in that process of trying to ban them, because the idea around it, while it makes sense, when you dial it down to reality, it doesn't make sense at all. These companies, they're trying to create this database. They're just trying to see who's out there. They think that it promotes company growth, but if you're not actually hiring anybody, it's not really growth. It's a scam. So I agree. I think there needs to be a better way to to backfill your database.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, we put a link in the comments a little bit earlier about a like a job event thing that we are doing. So go and check that out. Sign up for that, and because we're going to be talking about that during that workshop as well. All right, now it's time for us to get to the Woman in Supply Chain Forum. So talk to us about this. Why did you start it? You know, why? What are we going to expect in these 2.5 days of unlimited networking?
Yes, I'm super excited. We're now in our 4th year of this forum. We are, for those of you that are joining, we are about 85% booked with our hotel room block. So if you're looking to come and want to stay on site, I highly suggest you book ASAP. Our registration is up this time than it was last year. We're kind of pegging on 200 to 250 people total, which when we
Awesome.
launched, we only had 75 people, and that included our staff. So I'm very excited for the growth. But I'm also very excited for all of the partnerships and networking that we have created to kind of build this. We have, when you come in to register, we partnered with Move for Hunger. So when you come pick up your badge, you pack a little
Yay,
meal.
love them.
I'm so excited for it. You're helping feed a family of 4 in the Tampa Bay area. So kudos to Move for Hunger for partnering with us and being a part of that. We have Ann Fetter from eGrocery. She is our keynote speaker. I kind of stalked her for a little bit because she was, and I use the word stalk very nicely, but she had won some awards in the food service realm, Food Service Women in Supply Chain Awards. And so I was kind of like, you epitomize everything that we're trying to achieve here. And she does talk about self-worth. That's kind of her whole topic. So self-worth is kind of a big theme that's kind of running through everything. We have our supply chain Jeopardy, which if you were there last year, it gets loud, it gets competitive.
Totally does.
That was an idea that we just one day were like, let's try something fun. Not in a million years did I think, when we got feedback from people, that was their favorite part of the event. I was like, okay, well, we can just do that all day.
Yeah.
We also have our Partners in Progress session, which is our first all-male panel. And everybody's like, oh, well, why is that important? It is important because the purpose of Women in Supply Chain Forum is not just to have women in the audience and not just to have women on stage. Our goal is to partner with men, bring it together so that we can together support female logistics leaders. So I'm very excited to have these 3 wonderful men on our stage who have shown through their companies very big initiatives, things that they're doing inside their company with their partners and customers to promote women in supply chain. So I'm super excited. Obviously, our Women in Supply Chain Award winners panel, which you mentioned Mary earlier. She's one of our overall winners. So I'm very excited for that. This is also the first year we've had all 4 overall winners in person. Normally one is at home or we've had to do it virtually. So this is super excited. Sarah, you will be joining me on the stage for that. And then obviously, Sarah, your session and Katie Date's session, the very last day, building confidence and community for women leaders and supply chain. And so that interactive workshop is definitely new to the panel discussion, but it's also a way for us to kind of bridge that gap so that we can learn from each other, provide the tools and resources that we need that we can apply regardless of our title, regardless of what the company that we work for, regardless of what our end game is. So I'm very excited for all of it.
It's going to be fun. Katie and I were working on the workshop just a little while ago, and I actually practiced it at a logistics company last week, part of the workshop. And we're going to have fun. We're going to get vulnerable. We're going to dig a little bit deeper than I think most people are probably used to at a conference. But that's kind of the whole point of all of this, right? Is our professional, our personal lives really aren't that much different. We want to get to know each other. We need to get to know a little bit more about us. And it also helps us as leaders, like individual leaders, whether you have that title or not. We're all leaders within our own communities, whatever that looks like. So I'm excited about that. I'm also going to have some books there. I'm going to do a book signing. So I'm going to have some books to be purchased. And then I'm also going to do a signing. And then I'm going to be recording some podcasts for a Woman in Supply Chain series on site like I did last year. And so that was a ton of fun. And if anybody's coming to the forum and they're staying till Friday, I'm going to be hosting a Woman in Supply Chain dinner. So if you want to be a part of that dinner, please flood my LinkedIn DMs
Yes.
And we will make sure that you are invited to that as well, because we want to make sure that we get everybody who's staying till Friday. But really, listen, at the end of the day, it's a really great conference. It's a different conference than any of the other supply chain conferences that are out there. It's open to everybody. So go and check the link, register. I'd love to see you there. There's so much networking, and especially, it's a great place to be if you are in the job market as well. There's a ton of networking.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Mary has given us another fire emoji, so I'm super excited about that. Woo woo. She's very excited about the forum. I know she is. All right. So last article, last but not least, we do need to get to, I didn't change it. Never mind. Let me change that first. Last article. Here we go. 5 trends reshaping U.S. manufacturing in 2025. One of the things that I wanted to talk about in one of these trends is that supply chain costs are rising 7% above inflation. Now, we haven't seen a ton of that within the retail space that's hitting consumers, but we're about to, because products are costing more with tariffs. So a lot of companies would have bought products prior to the tariffs coming in, but that inventory is slowly dwindling and they need to buy more product. They're buying more product at higher prices. And then the retailer needs to figure out whether they want to do price stability. So do they keep their prices the same for consumers so consumers will still buy, or do they increase their margin? And so this is what is actually one of the trends that people are seeing and having to contend with in Q4 of this year. And one of the quotes that I saw earlier, I mentioned it earlier, supply chains need to be designed to expect disruption these days, right? So if you're thinking about that, you're thinking about your teams, how do we design it to expect disruption in 2026? Anyways, what do you think about this, Marina? What are some of the other trends to watch?
So I think this is really on par. And I think, with my team internally, even though we're not in the supply chain, we cover the supply chain. And one of the things that we say is fly by the seat of our pants. Internally, we're always pivoting and trying to do things. And it's like, look, that's what these folks have to do on a regular basis, is fly by the seat of their pants, because you just don't know. These tariffs, they're constantly changing. The rules and regulations are constantly changing. We're currently in a government shutdown. Which I'm not entirely sure when that will stop and what that looks like on the other side. And these are things that we kind of need to keep in mind. And when I say fly by the seat of your pants, I mean, yes, expect disruption, but what does that look like? It's coming from all different ways, and it can look like many different things. So it's a really challenging time for a lot of these companies that are producing products, that are moving products, especially when you're dealing with overseas, but even locally, internally, nationally, we have our own sets of challenges. So we just got to stick together.
Stick together, take care of each other.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I actually recorded an episode of Blended about self-worth yesterday, and it was with a lot of very different people. Like Katie Date was on it, but then everybody else was outside of supply chain. And it was interesting in how people are seeing the world right now, how they're seeing themselves, how they're taking care of themselves or maybe not taking care of themselves, and absorbing too much, right? And so we really talked about taking care of us, taking care of ourselves first, because it's almost that oxygen mask thing. You can't help anybody unless you put your own oxygen mask on first. And I think that pertains really a lot to today. And I think also it pertains to supply chain. And again, I go back to what I said earlier. Humans are the backbone of supply chain. How are we taking care of our people? And it's not just donuts on Fridays. I mean, it used to be. Or bagels on Friday. It used to be. Now we need to do a little bit more. And so that's why I'm hoping that workshop that Katie Date and I are doing at the forum is going to help with that. But before we go, I do want to give a shout out because Michelle Frenier gave us another fire emoji, which I love. And Michelle Nowak, if anybody's over on my personal LinkedIn, she's saying the struggle is real. 6 months searching now, and the ghost jobs are everywhere. So if anybody has any help for Michelle, head over to my personal LinkedIn. Please give her some love, and let's see if we can help her find that position that she wants as well. Anyways, we've gone a little bit over. Marina, thank you so much for joining me here today. I can't wait to see you in person in just over a month, which is great. And thanks so much for everybody for tuning in this week. I think next week, Audrey Ross is in the hot seat. So can't wait for that because we've got some really cool articles coming your way. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.